The dark caves of Rome are a series of tunnels and caverns buried deep in the heart of the Cascades Mountains. They are so called because the giant Rome from the ancient histories is meant to have lived there. Now it is the home of the goblin clans, tribes of small, grotesque creatures known for their evil ways. These creatures live in this dark, damp environment, venturing out only at the dead of night to feed from their boggy marshes and swamps. An area bordering the caves, full of thick, thorny bushes. A dark and dangerous area that no fae dare to ever venture near. The goblins, as it is known, are unable to bear sunlight or any form of magical light. They have a hatred of other fae creatures, particularly elves, of whom they are very jealous. A few centuries ago, at the time of the last long night, the goblins ventured into the fantasy forest, bringing fear to the fairy creatures that live there, hoping to destroy the harmonious balance and instead take over the magical forest with their presence. Their plan was foiled, however, by the emanation of thousands of particles of magical lights that entered into the fantasy forest mysteriously, banishing the goblins back into their caves. There is great excitement throughout Eryndel at the news of their High Princess's betrothal. Many feel sorry for her, being that her betrothed is one of the fearsome neighbouring Dragonborn, but others hold her in high regard for her strength, nobility and staunch duty in securing the peace of the realm. Many fae are making pilgrimage up the mountains to the Tree of Light, to lay garlands and wreaths and say prayers to the Mother for their princess's future and happiness. The druid priest Aldhur, recently having visited with the fairy swarm at the Spinney, has secured safe passage for Princess Galea's cavalcade through their land on her way into Ormarond. However, despite the excitement at this news, there is a growing unease down in the fantasy forest. There have been a couple of goblin sightings. Goblins who usually only present themselves during the long night have been seen draped in dark hooded cloaks, skulking in the undergrowth. As to why this has come about, no one can be sure. There has been a meeting between the Council of Woodland Elf Rangers to decide what is to be done. Scouts are to be sent to the edges of the dark caves of Rome to monitor the activities of the goblins. Amongst these elf rangers are two brothers, expert bowmen, Eoron Morning Dew and his younger brother, Thoran. There had been a visitor to the caves of Rome, a tall, grey-hooded stranger, an apprentice of the Dark Lord Org. Through him, the goblins learned of the Book of Light, the reason behind their banishment back to the caves, and of its keeper, the elven Princess Galea of Eryndel. Between them they come up with a plan to seize the book and destroy it so that the goblins would be free to re-enter the forest when the next long night arrived. The Dark Lord Org already has his reasons for this plan. The stranger told them that a procession taking the princess on a peace mission into Ormarond was soon to take place. The procession would have to travel through the Spinney, a narrow gorge which is the only way to reach Ormarond from Eryndel. The goblins decide that would be a perfect place for an ambush. The dark stranger then travelled from the caves to the Spinney, where he met with the swarm. His mission was to make a bargain with the Spinney fairies. Not an easy task, as they were known to be elusive and neutral to any form of politics within kingdoms. However, he was sure that his proposal from the Dark Lord would be one that the Spinney fairies would not be able to resist. The time came for Princess Galea's cavalcade to travel to Ormarond. Galea was feeling troubled and nervous, not having travelled out of her beloved Eryndel before. She was to be accompanied by a troop of Eryndel's silver guards. The night that her father, King Gadwan, had come to speak to her, Galea felt many mixed emotions. She knew that the time would soon come for her to be bonded, but she had expected that to be with another high elf from one of the noble families within Eryndel, in order to strengthen the elven high community. She had been taught by her mother to expect this, and knew that in time a love would grow for her new family, as it had for Queen Alina. But Galea had heard fearsome tales of the Dragonborn, that they were ugly and scaly and showed no love. She had been horrified and couldn't believe that her father could even suggest this bond for her. However, Galea was a very dutiful and respectful daughter, and in her life had known no war or fear, and she knew how important it was to keep the peace for all the fairy citizens of Eryndel. She had tried to prepare herself for this journey and ordeal. What her father and mother did not know, of course, was that Galea's heart had already found another. Thoran, a woodland elf ranger, who she'd met on the mountainside. Galea was becoming heart-sore, a serious condition that could lead to a fatal illness for elves. She knew that her love for Thoran was futile, as he would be seen to be too lowly an elf to ever be allowed to be bonded with the noble class, never mind a royal princess. Galea knew she had to put her feelings for Thoran aside and give her heart time to heal. They had been travelling for some time when the woodland became very dark and dense, with sheer cliffs towering on each side. She knew they must be entering the Spinney, the narrow gorge between the mountains that was the only way from Eryndel into Ormarond. Suddenly the sounds also changed. Instead of the sounds of birds, strange, haunting whisperings and high clicks could be heard. An enchanting sound, and Galea knew that she was being watched by the Spinney fairies. She could see their glowing green eyes amongst the foliage. She smiled and waved to thank them for their safe passage. The horses of the Silver Guards suddenly became skittish and nervous, the guards having some trouble controlling them. The sounds grew louder, and the glowing green eyes and faces seemed to be all around them. The guards had been told there was no danger to be faced, and that their safe passage had been guaranteed through the Spinney. However, the elven guards felt themselves becoming disorientated, dizzy, and strangely tired. The feeling could not be shaken, and they felt themselves falling into a deep sleep. The whispering voices surrounded Galea's carriage. Galea, who was a master of languages, could understand their meaning. She was unsettled, as the fairies were telling her that there was danger ahead, that she must follow them and be guided to safety. She saw that her guards were under some kind of spell. She was frightened, but thought she could trust the fairies, so she followed them. Little did she know, they were guiding her towards danger, into the hands of the goblins.